Hello, my name is Craig Bryant, back again with another video, and this time we're going to look at some common mistakes that are made when we're serving. Are you making some of these mistakes? We'll delve into some of these areas in a little bit more detail, and then we'll look at some solutions to solving some of these mistakes as well. It's really common amongst players to think that variety is king, and that we constantly serve with a different technique into a different place with a different spin, and then our opponent never knows what's happening or what's coming to them. Actually, in working in that way, it's hard to find our opponent's weakness. It's hard to find those patterns of play, and it's really hard then to narrow the focus and make the game a little bit more tactical if we're just constantly using lots of different serves. So, are you falling into this trap? So there can be some benefits to having variety. Certainly if you're playing against somebody that you've not played before and you don't know what their strengths and weaknesses are, and you don't know how they normally react, then maybe starting off with a bit of variety with your serve into different places, using different spins, different distances. Are they stronger on the backhand and forehand? But then we're doing it for a purpose. Are we finding a weakness? Are we exposing an area where they've made a few mistakes? And then when that happens, then we can start to build those tactics around those mistakes. So if you've done a short topspin serve into backhand and they've missed the flick, or perhaps they've pushed it, immediately I'd be thinking, maybe I need to try that again and just test that. Was that just a bit of a fluke or a one-off? Or is that the norm? Is that an area where they struggle? And then there's an opportunity to really start racking up some points. So that's where variety can be good. But if we've exposed that weakness and then we go back into lots of other different serves, then we've missed that opportunity. Okay, so don't just serve with variety for the sake of variety. Can you find what you think is a weakness and then try and hammer it as much as you can? Here's a little question for you, and perhaps you can answer this in the comments. What's best? If you find a weakness, do you just keep going until you don't win points with it anymore? Or do you hide it and save it and keep it for when you might need it? What do you think the best tactic is? Here's the second most common mistake that I tend to see. Okay, so the next most common one that I tend to see is managing that distance of your serve. So often we see someone just grab a ball, they get ready to serve, and then they're straight into it. Not too much thought, not taking care of things, not worrying about the distance so much. And it's probably because they can get away with it a lot of the time. Maybe people are still pushing that return back, or they're attacking it a little bit softly. So they're not too concerned about it. But then when they come up against someone who's a little bit stronger, then it becomes a bit of an issue. And then it's difficult then to try and change and make sure that that serve is short. So then they're under a lot of pressure. So are you falling into that trap of just grabbing the ball and constantly serving? Okay, so here's a couple of tips that you can use to just make sure that you are making sure that serve is nice and short. Often when that serve is drifting long, we're hitting too much of the back of the ball. When you hit the back of the ball, you're putting lots of energy into the ball projecting forwards. Okay, so we can get the ball short, but we often then compromise on the quality of the spin. We end up just slowing that action down to try and keep it short. So what we want to try and do is use these different angles. It's opening the bat a little bit more, either coming underneath it, coming around it. Now the effort's not through the back of the ball, it's more underneath or to the side. And then that's going to allow us to slow the ball down, and we should be able to get 2, 3, 4 bounces, whatever we're trying to achieve. Okay, so that's an easy way to try and make sure that you are getting that short serve and limiting your opponent's opportunity to make that attack. So can you come underneath, around one of the sides, and just avoid coming through the back of the ball too much. And finally, third most common thing that I see is predictability. Players really declaring where we're going to be serving, whether that's using the same serve all the time or a little bit too much, or the action or our starting position changes, and it's that gives it away. So some examples might be from my backhand corner, serving across court, moving across to my forehand, serving along that diagonal, stepping back a little bit to serve longer. Or there might be some more subtle tells, but can still be quite obvious. So for example, when we're going for a long fast serve, it might be that the bat's opening out a little bit too soon. And it's that's giving away where we're serving. This is a more common one than you think. Quite often people look, they'll look where they're going to serve before they actually do it. They don't always know that they're doing it, but it's a giveaway. We can often see it. It's a good thing to look out for as a receiver, watching people's eyes, because we can sometimes take advantage of it. But are you giving away what you're doing? Can you conceal what you're doing a little bit more? And how can you do that? So how I try and do this is to adopt a similar starting point. So for this example, I'm going to use the corner here. And I'm going to use my short serve as my kind of default serve. So when I'm going for that, I'm being mindful of how far back my arm's moving, the angle of the approach, so it's quite an open racket. And it's those details that are going to matter when I'm making those changes. So I want that approach for all of the variety that I have with this technique. Okay, so once again, this is my short serve. And now I can implement some of those changes. Okay, so that time I came around the side of the ball. That time I came around the other side of the ball. That time I went for my long fast one and just tried to keep this action the same as long as possible and leave that change to the last split second. So hopefully there, whatever serve I'm going for, they're at least seeing a similar start. And it's that can just hinder their reaction time. And it's that can give you an opportunity to make that first attack. So are you giving signals away? And if so, what can you do to conceal those a little bit more? Okay, so avoid making those 3 common errors. Take some of those tips on board and you'll be able to make pretty quick improvements to your serve. Okay, thanks again for watching. Write in the comments if there's anything that you want to see in particular. I will do some tutorials around other aspects of the game from time to time, but if there's anything around serve or anything linked to serve, that's predominantly what I'm going to focus on. But thanks again for watching and see you at the next one.